I call the meeting to order. This meeting of the Hopkinton Select Board is being held both in person and remotely using the video conference platform Zoom. If all members participating in the meeting are not present in the meeting room. So Select Board members Joe Clark, Amy Ritterbusch, and Shahidul Manan will be participating in person, and Mary Jo is joining us at the moment. Are present for this meeting at Town Hall Room 215-216 in person. At this time, I will ensure that the Select Board members participating remotely can hear and be heard. We don't have any tonight. So the public has the option of attending in person here at Town Hall or via Zoom using the link posted in this meeting's agenda. This meeting is being recorded. All votes will be taken by roll call vote. We have Mary Jo here, so I'll hand it over to her.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn this meeting and go to executive session.
I think we have to read the whole thing.
Return.
So I move to enter executive session pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Purpose 3, to consider strategy with respect to litigation, United States of America versus Michael Zepp, because an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the board, to allow Elaine Lazarus to participate in executive session, and to convene in open session at the conclusion of the executive session. We need a roll call vote. Yeah.
Yeah, roll call. No.
Amy Ritterbusch, yes.
Joe Clark, yes.
Mary Jo Lafreniere, yes.
Shahidul Manan, yes.
Do we need to roll call since we're all?
I'd like to open our regular open session, please. And first, we will open with the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I will open the public forum, and everybody will have 2 minutes.
John Ritz, 11 Erica Drive. I'm a co-chair of the Hopkinton Trails Club, and we are beginning our 20th year of service to the community. I'm here to share a bit of our story. I'll start with a complaint about the name that our founders gave us. Folks ask how they can become a member of the club, but the problem is we really don't have any members or committees or anything that a club generally should have. So if we're not a club, what are we? It depends. Sometimes we're a consulting group using our experience and expertise to provide advice and guidance on trail matters. We act as mentors for scout projects, respond to requests for trail recommendations, and even advise town officials. When the town was considering creating a trails committee, the Trails Club researched what towns around us were doing and presented the town manager and select board with a report and recommendations. For those looking for advice online, we have a website full of information about the trails in Hopkinton, as well as those in neighboring towns. Other times we're like park rangers, promoting Hopkinton's local trails by leading walks to introduce people to the 30-plus trail systems we have in town. We've organized and led walks for the Girl Scouts, the Senior Center, and the library, and we lead a monthly walk for the community. On these walks, we often hear people say, "I've always wondered about this trail," or "I never knew this trail was here." We've also acted as project managers for construction of some of Hopkinton's signature trails. You won't find our name on any of them, but we are responsible for the creation of the Echo Trail, the Hughes Trail, and the Center Trail. That's right, the beloved Center Trail was a Trails Club project, and we continue to maintain it. Speaking of maintenance, finally, the Trails Club is a trail work crew. We've always done some trail work, but 3 years ago, we started leading a monthly trail work day in partnership with the Trails Committee. It's been great for scouts and students seeking community service hours. And since the start of those work days, our volunteers have provided 892 hours of work on the trails. Now, I know finances are a topic nobody really cares about, but the current value of an hour of volunteer work in Massachusetts is $40.97. So those 892 hours represent a donation of just over $35,565 to the town. This year alone, the value of our work is over $13,000, and since it was formed, the club's volunteers have provided more than $42,000 worth of work to the town. As we head into our 20th year, we look forward to continuing our service.
Getting beyond 2 minutes. Can we wind it up,
finishing.
please? Thank you.
As we head into our 20th year, we look forward to continuing our service to the community, and we encourage you and all residents to join us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Steve Snow, 78 Pine Island Road, again and often. All right, I just wanted to give you an update on my June 20th FOIA request. As you may know, the town took a long time to respond, but ultimately claimed a bunch of exemptions on why they shouldn't have to give me the records. I requested at least not one, but there are ridiculous redacted. I objected to the claims of the exemptions. The claims were ridiculous. You should read my September 4th email about that I sent to Connor. In that, I explained why those exemptions are silly. I also asked the town to comply with the public records law by providing me with the specific as to why they believe those exemptions apply to the redactions. Since then, I've been asking the town to respond. But on October 1st, before the Select Board meeting, I spoke with Connor, and he told me that the town has no intention of responding to it at all. I never received an email, phone call, text message, nothing to that. It was just because I asked him what he was doing with my information. And so today, I spoke with the Secretary of the Commonwealth to find out what my options were. And he walked me through the appeals process for a town's noncompliance. I will be filing that appeal tomorrow, and I will CC Connor on that, of course. So as your update, and just to let you know, the Northwest District Attorney's Office just sent me a supplemental response in a flash drive to earlier response to my FOIAs that they missed some of the information in their investigation into Joe Bennett and to others who violated releasing the documents exposing the personal information about a rape victim. That's right, the Northwest District Attorney sent me a new flash drive of documents that they said they failed to provide me the first time. They also explained all of the redactions in those documents and who redacted them, whether it was the town, whether it was the Northwest District. Clarity and transparency, how refreshing, but not you. Why? Why is it so hard to just let me know what Chief Joe Bennett did with my criminal complaint? If he violated his own policies or the town policy, why is he still working or sitting at home with a broken ankle? It's ridiculous. It's just too much. Just hold those accountable. We voted you people in to help run this town, but to the will of the people. And right now, you're not responding to it. We, the people, don't have a voice here anymore. It's friggin' wrong. So, have a good night.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? Anyone on? No.
No hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. Select Board will consider approving the minutes of the September 10th, 2024 meeting. Accept a gift. The Select Board will consider accepting a donation of $500 from Frederick Cullen to the Sustainable Green Committee. Street name request pursuant to Mass General Laws 174, Article 2, street names. The Select Board will consider approving the name of Red Tail Circle for the approval of a 5-lot subdivision at 24 Chestnut Street. New employees, the Select Board will consider confirming the town manager's appointment of Jesse Nato, heavy equipment operator, and Erin Bartolini, a drug-free committee coalition coordinator, and Victor Visoni, administrative assistant, land use planning, Nicholas Madero, custodial maintenance worker, weekends. Resignation, we will accept the resignation of the Select Board will consider accepting the resignation of Donald Wolf from the Council on Aging. And November 24, 2024 state election warrant. The Select Board will consider approving and signing the November 5th, 2024 state election warrant. Does anyone want to break out any of those?
No.
No, I don't have anything, except I just want to congratulate the newly appointed town employees and also thank Donald Wolf for his service.
Thank you. Okay.
Thanks to the donation for the Green Committee.
Can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Well, see them here. So now I want to bring up special temporary alcohol license for Project Just Because. The Select Board will consider approving a special temporary alcohol license for Project Just Because for a private invite-only event for potential donors. The event is to be held November 7th, 2024, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at 77 South Street. The alcohol will be served by tips, certified servers, and will be donated. Does anybody want to discuss the permitting or the license?
Just a clarification, will be donated, proceeds will be donated, is that how we read it? It sounds like alcohols will be donated.
Certified servers, just as will be donated.
No, no.
I think that means the servers are going to work as a donation.
The alcohol is donated as well.
Huh?
The
Oh, the
alcohol is
Yeah.
donated.
Thank you for clarifying. Yep.
All of the documents have come in, and
No adverse comments?
approvals of,
Permitting team is okay with it?
yeah, everything is here, everything has come in. So I will accept,
Yeah, everything seems in order.
everything seems to be in order, so
I move to approve special temporary alcohol license for Project Just Because for an event on November 7, 2024, from 6 to 8 p.m. at 77 South Street.
second. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I don't see Connor is here yet. I know he was coming up from downstairs.
Running behind.
He's on Zoom.
You're a little ahead too,
Did he,
10 minutes ahead.
oh,
Okay.
is he in the building right now, you're saying?
I believe so.
Oh. So should we come back to him in 10 minutes then?
Running behind.
Would anybody like to take something out of order? We have
Should we jump
time,
to liaison reports or town manager report?
Sure. How about liaison reports? Do we have any?
I don't have anything particular. I went for the Arts on Trail. It was fantastic by Cultural Committee. So kudos to them and all the participants.
Okay. Anybody else? We have the new mosque is having an open house on Saturday from 1 to 3, I believe. It's coming up. Anything else? Anybody can?
The Freedom Team is having an event at the HCA on Thursday called Artful Conversations. What does it mean to be Indigenous? So everyone's invited to attend. That's a free event.
Okay. Okay. That's the things that are coming up. I have one report that the Mass Transit has received some money from the state, and we will be meeting next month to discuss the possibilities of what we're going to do with that. So that's my report for this. Anybody have anything that they want to discuss while we're here, waiting?
I could add that the CPC, the deadline to submit applications closed so that they will be reviewing them at their next meetings, so anyone can view them online if they're interested.
Good point. And what's the last date, Amy?
The CPC grant applications were due last week, and so those are now all available for anyone who would like to read more about them, and they'll be reviewing them to make sure they comply with their guidelines.
Thank you.
The senior center has a few things coming up. One of them is for people like me who wear hearing aids. They're having a hearing aid cleaning day next Thursday, and you should call first and make an appointment. And they still have some openings, so if someone is interested, that is something that's going on this week.
You want to do should we do the town manager's report? We're still like 7 minutes. So
Or you want to start your report, Elaine?
Connor estimates about 5 or 10 minutes.
Oh, 5 or 10 minutes, okay, so that gives you time.
So for the town manager report this week regarding the Main Street Corridor Project, highlights are, all the 12 transformers have been delivered and installed. Eversource has completed its overhead transfer work. Overhead electric infrastructure to the underground electric infrastructure continues. Waiting information from Eversource before connections into buildings on the east side can be scheduled. And overhead transfer work continues. Comcast is on site and expected to be finished by the end of October. Existing utility poles located between the police station and Ash Street will be removed once the new underground infrastructure is operational, and all utility services for the properties in the area have been transferred. The installation of the bricks began in September. That continues to go on, and today they excavated the sidewalk in front of Town Hall for the brickwork. Landscaping plan changes are under review by MassDOT, which may result in some of the landscaping for the project being pushed out to next year, pending an on-site meeting to review the plans. So that's it for Main Street. Any questions on that?
I do. I did hear a question from the public. We have a bunch of temporary easements for this project, and when we first did them, even though we expected the project to last 3 years, the easements were extended for 5 years. But we are unfortunately getting dangerously close to 5 years. So what happens if we're not done before the temporary easements expire?
I'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay.
I think the hope is we won't need those easements beyond that time, but.
Okay. And then it's just every time I drive by Main Street, although I know it says that Comcast is on site and working, it doesn't really look like much progress has been made on moving wires since July.
It's been slow.
Okay.
And then regarding town department position vacancies, no new vacancies since the last meeting.
Connor is here. Sorry. Oh, Connor is here, but we can finish this up.
I can finish this later if we
Oh,
want
do
to.
you want it? We're still a few minutes ahead of schedule.
Okay, all right. With regard to budget listening sessions, last year, the board held a number of budget listening sessions in different times, different locations. Attendance was slim. So I think the discussion was, the board wished to discuss at some point whether it would like to hold them, and if so, where and what times do you think people would be interested in coming out and hearing from the board, or perhaps you would go somewhere where an event is being held, something like that. So we consider some various options, different locations, different times. And it can be with staff, or if it's during the day, or it can be with the board in the evening. So there's a lot of options.
Yeah, I like the idea. I was thinking if you can propose some kind of special events or specific that would be more convenient as well as effective, we could go for those.
I do think the idea of piggybacking on other events might be more successful, because when you just say, do you want to come talk about the budget, most people do not. That doesn't sound very interesting. But if we go to an event that's already happening, we have a table, or that might be helpful.
Do you have the schedule from last year and like which events, or were they all kind of low participation?
They all were, and they were held at various, there was time at a number of select board meetings, and there was no one present. And it was one at the senior center in the afternoon.
There's one with Chambers, there are quite a few.
Yeah.
Do you think we should have more events or go with what we have?
Well, different events, I think, rather than more, but maybe, I don't know.
Could schedule a few over the next, say, 4 or 5 months.
Let's start there, yeah.
Like if there were any events at the library, we could have a table there, so people would be there for the event anyway.
That's right.
Or the HCA.
Or even during library hours, people are there.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on a bit, we have our town clerk, Connor Deegan, and he's going to present us with our new assistant town clerk, Will Lee.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So, as you know, I'm Connor Deegan, your town clerk, and we've just welcomed to the team now for 2 weeks Will Lee, who comes to us from teaching. He was a civics teacher, and his background has already proven fantastic in quickly learning all of the aspects, especially hitting the ground running as we go into election season. He had assisted in both Ashland and Franklin when it comes to their election process over the last few years. So he really was able to quickly adjust to that as we are in the thick of the 2024 election cycle. But he's been a great addition. Anyone who's had a chance to meet him so far has seen he's definitely keeps in with the theme of keeping it friendly and informative in the clerk's office.
Well, I'll start off, and I will say that I had the privilege of working with Will 3 days last week, and it was like he had always been there. He's really picking up things fast, and with the election coming up, there was a lot to do, and I'm very happy that he's there. He's good with people, he's good with the office, and I think he's been doing a great job so far. And if anybody, you have any questions for Will as our new Assistant Town Clerk?
Don't have any questions, but we'd just like to welcome him, and we're very glad to have you in the nick of time before the elections. The early voting's beginning next week, and then you have the special town meeting in November, so you're going to jump right in.
I know Connor's glad to have the help, so welcome.
Thank you. No questions. Congratulations and welcome, William. Right on time, and we'll be drinking from the fire hose, but we need that help, and glad Connor has the help. Welcome.
And then I encourage, of course, the public to come by and say hello and meet the new assistant, especially as we go into early voting in the next few weeks. You know, we're going to have plenty of traffic downtown, so hopefully with the foot traffic, we'll see a few people stopping in to say hello and see how everything's running.
And I understand that you have all of the ballots out now?
100% of everything that we received before 10/11. So if anyone has not seen it in the mail yet, it's because the post office hasn't gotten it to you yet. We've received a lot of phone calls today, but everything is out in the mail unless we just received your application today.
Connor, for all the residents understanding, the early voting starts on October 19.
That is correct. It goes the 19th through November 1st, and it skips the 2 Sundays in between there. During the week, it just runs during our office hours, and on the 2 Saturdays, the 19th and the 26th, it runs from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. here at Town Hall.
Thank you. Let's all vote.
I encourage everybody to get out and vote. And I thank you guys very much, and we welcome Will. And do we have a camera around here somewhere? We're going to take a picture? Somebody's got to have one.
Picture there.
Would you like to be in?
Speaking of our budget sessions, what is the busiest time at Town Hall? Is it Tuesday evening because it's open late? Like, because we could have a table at the lobby during the busiest time. Or
Monday morning.
Monday morning is the busiest? Ah, that's interesting. Huh.
Or when taxes are due.
Oh, well, and the people paying taxes might be interested in the budget, so there we go. So that might be an option to just have coffee in the morning.
Okay, moving on, we have received a draft of the possible new Trails Committee draft. Now, as I understand it, the Trails Committee, the Town Trails Committee is still working on projects that they've been doing and are not finished. However, this will be a new Trails Committee. When they're done, they will be disbanded, just as the other one has. And this will be a new committee. So I encourage everybody to read the new charter or the draft of the new committee, and to come forward with suggestions. And let me me see. Elaine, is there anything you want us specifically to focus on with this?
Yeah, thank you, Mary Jo. I just want to thank all of the people that provided comments to me as I was preparing this draft. It was very helpful. Tried to incorporate suggestions from current and former members of Upper Charles and the TCMC. It was very helpful, and also Open Space Chair as well. So it was very helpful to me. So the process, once the board is comfortable with this language, the process to establish this committee, because we're going to be transferring appropriations, would be an administrative order under the charter, so that would be a public hearing and a vote of this board. The last committee that was created that way was the Permanent Building Committee, so it doesn't happen that often, but we have gone through this process before to create various committees. So that would be the process. But in the meantime, it would be great to know if you had any edits or questions about the current draft. I wasn't able to incorporate everyone's comments, but I tried to get as close as I could and, take on the flavor of what the current committees were doing that people wanted them to continue with, and what the goals of the town might be in that regard. So it would be an entirely new committee that would be created with the membership to be appointed by this board.
Thank you, Elaine. So to understand, and for everyone's understanding, what would be the next steps in formalizing this? So you mentioned public hearing, incorporating the feedback, and then bringing to the board for vote, and then start going about forming the bodies. But we also have another TCMC that is, we have it in effect until we finalize this, so that's another step in between. Did I say it right, or anything else you want to add?
Well, that's correct. So I'll formally submit it to the board, and then within 30 days, the board will have a hearing. And then after that, there's a period of time where the public will be able to comment at the hearing. And then following the hearing, you can amend the proposal and then be subject to final review by the board. And then the board would vote on the administrative order. Okay. And the committee would be created. We'd then seek members, like we always do, by posting the vacancy, and then you would appoint members to the committee. And the TCMC would be disbanded following the appointment of the new committee.
I had a couple of questions, comments. Through the chair, is that okay?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was a little concerned about the associate member, non-voting members. It seems like other committees I've been on that have had associates, they can usually vote in the absence of a permanent member, because sometimes you get into where one member has to travel a lot for work and they're never there, and then it's kind of hard. So I guess I would lean towards the associates could vote in the absence of a permanent member, or not, whatever, full member, I guess. And then the other thing, I would really like the language to be beefed up a little bit about accessibility, because, so I would say that the majority, if not all, the trails in town are not really are not fully accessible. So I just want to make sure that that does not get lost, and then we're not going to strive towards some accessible trails. Inaccessible in a variety of ways, not just mobility issues, but it could be vision issues or neurodiversity, other potential issues.
These money articles for particular projects should be transferred to the new Trails Committee?
They would be.
They will be, okay.
And the new committee would decide whether to proceed with those or not.
Or how to prioritize.
So while we are waiting for the TCMC to complete the projects or whatever it is that they're working on, for us to, we're going to accept this proposal or accept comments on this proposal. And I would like to encourage anybody in the town who's interested to please come forward and apply for the new committee. Comments?
Yeah. Thank you, Elaine, for putting it together. I think this is long due, and we want to resolve and move forward. One quick comment I have is, I'm not sure if we do want to have, full member and then associate member. Why not all full members and all voting members? I didn't understand the value proposition there, and my thinking is we should do all full members, all voting members, everyone spending time and energy and participating fully, and we should recognize that by providing that. And in doing that, I don't know if 10 is the right number, or 9 or 11. We can talk about that, but that's my general feedback.
So an increase in the number of members? Is that what you were suggesting?
Right, so eliminating the associate members and adding them as full members and making it, if we sum up now, it'll be 10, right? So we can go with 10, or if we think for decision-making, an odd number is better, we could go 9 or 11.
I like 9.
9 is, yeah.
It's reasonable.
9. I'm not sure that I want to disband the associate member bit altogether, because we might have students that want to get involved and maybe wouldn't be a full member right away. And being an associate member also helps with the learning process, but that's up to the board when we decide to vote on this.
Yeah, I lean towards what Mary Jo's saying, too, that it's a good place for someone to get involved before they become a full member. But, I mean, it can go either way, but I lean toward having some associates.
What do you think?
I don't have a strong opinion, but I do think that, even if it's student or new members, like with all other boards, even in the select board, we get a new member as the new member, not as an associate. So that's my thinking. I mean, there are it's a large enough committee, others to coach and teach, even if there is a new member. So not having a full membership, in my view, doesn't really recognize the value and the time and effort they're putting in, and it just makes my thinking like a second-class membership. That's my opinion.
I wanted to ask a question about, okay, we're going to have a new committee of 9 people all at once. Should we have a number of staggered years instead of all 9, and then years from now we have to appoint all 9 again? We probably should have appointments for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, for the whole 9, even though they'll be appointed at the same time.
Yeah, it's kind of incorporated there, saying that
Yeah.
initial members shall be appointed to 1, 2, and 3-year terms
Right.
to achieve staggered terms. So
But
that
we
should work.
kind of are looking at a 9-member too, so.
So just to kind of summarize that, I think we're all in agreement with 9. The associates is up in the air, but if there is associates, they're non-voting members. Is that, I'm just trying to clarify. I don't have a strong opinion on this.
I guess if they're associates, I'd like them to be able to vote in the absence of a full member. Because I guess I've been on committees where like one full committee member just is never there, and then it seems not productive to have other people there that can't vote.
Do we have associate membership besides the youth, or which other committees do we have associate membership?
So, for example, the TCMC, for example, has 3 associate members that have no one has ever been appointed to those, so it's as needed. And I think the thought was that for a trail committee, there are people who want to do work on the ground, but don't necessarily want to attend meetings necessarily or be involved in, the day-to-day working. So, if you wanted someone who's a doer on the committee, that might be a place for them. But I think it's variable. So, for example, the Board of Appeals has associate members who participate if a member is not there. So there's a variety. We have associate members on the Council on Aging as well.
And Historical Commission, Design
A
Review,
lot of them.
Zoning Advisory Committee.
Many committees.
And some can be voting members and some not, so.
Yeah, no, I understand. I knew some of the associate members in the TCMC, and I heard them that they were not feeling their voice was heard and they were valued enough or recognized enough. So that's also part of the kind of thinking. So that's my thinking on that. Why keep it separate, make it all together, and everyone can participate and everyone can vote, speak up their mind.
So it's not necessary to have associates? We can have them, so for example, the TCMC, they were on there and said that they may be appointed if somebody wants to, but it wasn't required.
So we have copies of the
You don't have to decide tonight, right?
proposed, it's a draft, yes, the proposed draft, so that if anybody wants to come and see it and make comments, they're free to also. And we will be making a decision on this at a later meeting.
Should we, if we go with 9, should we bump quorum up to 5 instead of 4?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Right, okay.
So then would that make quorum harder to get? Yeah, that's the debate. I agree, though, if it's 9, then it should be 5 for the quorum.
Okay, anybody else have any questions or comments? Or
Nope.
Otherwise, it looked very good to me.
Okay. So we're going to move on to the local option meals excise tax. The Select Board, we will discuss adopting a local option meals excise as an additional source of revenue. Massachusetts imposes a 6.25 sales tax on meals sold or bought from restaurants or any restaurant part of a store. Cities and towns may add an additional 0.75%. Adoption would require a town meeting vote. So really what we're going to do is decide to put it on the town meeting warrant.
Can I start with this?
Yeah?
So Elaine and I were invited to the Chambers meeting on Tuesday last week, Wednesday, I forget which day. And so this came up as part of that. I know we have a couple Chamber members here. Are we able to have them come up and speak to this, with this being a Chamber-driven thing? Is that okay?
I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
It's up to you.
Oh, okay. We can invite a chamber member up.
Do you guys want to come up if you want to? Just one? Perfect.
Good evening. My name is Paul Ostrander, 10 DeCarlo Road, Hopkinton. I'm going to read just a brief statement from the Hopkinton Chamber of Commerce. The Hopkinton Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors unanimously supports the local meals excise tax to specifically help fund a full-time economic development officer. In a small town, the path of economic resilience and growth often requires focused attention and strategic planning. An economic development officer can play a vital role in this journey, bringing the expertise and leadership to foster local businesses, attract new investments, create job opportunities tailored to our community's unique needs. By supporting the local meals excise tax to help fund an EDO, we can harness the potential of our local resources, promote entrepreneurship, and build partnerships and strengthen our local economy. I think it's very important to state that 358 communities and cities in Massachusetts of the 351 already have this meals excise tax. It's 73%. And I believe that this proactive approach will help enhance the quality and life of our residents and businesses in Hopkinton for a prosperous future. A lot of this has been discussed with some of you in the past. So really just when the math comes down to it, it's very inexpensive for the consumer. We have a few restaurateurs and brewery owners, if you can guess who, on the board of directors who all have supported this. So for example, if you buy $100 worth of food, not alcohol or liquor, food, you would only be assessed an additional 75 cents on top of your bill. I think that's very minor for any consumer, and it can go directly to helping support our town, and especially flagged for an economic development officer. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. So I think
Thank you.
So I think it's a great thing. He talked about a small impact to the consumer, and, I think we won't know officially for, until this goes into place, but this is not going to be a massive revenue stream. And I know we're up here joking, no financial articles in the special town meeting, but at least this one's revenue. So I think what it is if we're looking at this as an opportunity to kind of invest in economic development, they talked about an economic development officer. Personally, talk to Elaine, talk to Julia, they're both, and Elaine, you can speak for yourself in a minute, but they're both supportive. I don't think this is going to fund a dedicated person full-time, but could be used towards economic development programs. I think neighboring towns use it as an incentive for new businesses to come in, $10,000, that's just an example, but $10,000 for a new business to come into Hopkinton. There's a lot of ways we can use this, even though it's not a large amount of money, and we're reinvesting in the community to give our tax-paying residents more benefit from the town. I think it's a great thing that we should just put on the agenda for the town meeting and let the town vote.
Well, I'm all for economic development. I was on the economic development task force for the town of Franklin when they decided to have one and develop a number of programs. I'm not sure. Have we checked with the state and found out that we can designate this tax?
I haven't found out the final answer. I have learned that you can earmark it for a stabilization fund, but I'm still waiting to hear whether you can dedicate it to a salary or a program specifically.
Because I know there are rules and regulations as to how we can use these, how we can use taxes. And I know auto excise tax has to go to the general fund and it goes through. And I'm not sure that this can be designated. If it can, fine. But that's something we definitely have to find out. And it will go into the stabilization. It can go into the stabilization fund, right?
If that's part of the vote.
Okay. Okay, well, I guess we have some more research to do here, too. But
But the special town meeting warrant closes. Maybe you're about to say it. The special town meeting warrant closes this week, right?
Right. We can vote to put on the meals tax. I just don't know if we can designate it anywhere.
Correct. And I think that's the important thing for tonight, is we have a short window to do it. We can't say for sure, but again, if the intent is to earmark it for economic development, as she continues to work with the DOR,
That'll come later.
We'll get more clarity, but we can get it on.
But if we want to get this tax on the books,
Yes.
then we have to put it on at town meeting,
Yeah.
just like that. So let's have a roll call on putting it on town meeting.
Can
Shahidul?
I make some comments first?
Sure.
I didn't get a chance. So for economic development, I think we are all aligned on that, and I've been talking about it for a while, and we did talk about building an economic development forum, so we can talk about that. And in fact, the position that we have now, partially economic development, that was funded when I was starting to talk with Representative James Arena De Rosa and got a grant for that. That's how Julia Chun's position was partially funded. But we talked about that it is certainly not sufficient for a town size of ours and for the things that we want to do. And so I think this is a very creative way to fund a full-time officer and full-time office activities. So this, to me, makes sense given that few things. One, I saw the research that you have submitted as well, that pretty much all our surrounding towns and 73% of Massachusetts towns have opted for it. So the funny thing is, even if we don't have it, most of our residents are paying it. They're just paying it in some other town. So with this, we'll get some benefit for our town. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And in terms of earmarking this, I did some research. It says Massachusetts law actually allows for it. But we want to hear from Brian and see what exactly are the legal procedure to do that before we move forward. But I think it makes sense from that end. And last but not the least, we can shelve it for another time. My thinking was when I read through this, and I think I see Ron is here. Ron actually floated the idea some time ago, and we discussed about this. And I think this is a very novel and creative idea, given the financial constraints that we are going through, where we want to do more on economic development, but we cannot spend really much more from our OpEx and others. So I'm really happy to see that coming to this slide. Another idea I wanted to interject is actually for our tax, the economic development eventually is going to contribute to our overall town's revenue stream, and that would help us manage the burden of taxes. So given that philosophical concept, I would like to also think about if we get to that, allocating 10-20% of this for our tax relief for elderly and veterans, and 80% for the Economic Development Office. The only reason is that kind of provides some more equity to the challenges we are having with elderly struggling for tax relief, and we don't have enough fund in the tax relief fund, as we hear from Sue Curry and others from that committee. And last but not the least, I think there's tremendous potential for economic development, and this will only be the beginning. And the numbers are really not too bad. I think our neighboring smaller towns of our size garners almost 150 to 250K per year eventually. Wellesley gets almost 800,000. Of course, Framingham, being its big size, gets almost over $1 million. So it can grow over time and contribute significantly to our various activities that we want to do in this sector. So I'm thinking this is a very good idea, and we should vet it out on the legal perspective and go forward with this.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with us putting this on the warrant and seeing if it passes. And it's good to know that most towns already have this, so it's not like we'll be an outlier. And then I had asked Aline, like it looks like our neighboring towns have it too, Southborough, Ashland, Westborough. And I was asking approximately how much revenue, and I think the smaller ones like Ashland and Southborough were 100,000 some, right?
Southborough, I think in FY24 had 124,000 or so, and Ashland 292.
292, wow, okay. And it'll take some time before we start seeing the revenue to know how it will work out for us, really. Okay, but I think I'm comfortable with starting it this year.
Yeah, and I think to that point, so if this got voted on at special town meeting, it would go into effect January 1st, and we would see the first reimbursement end in Q2, calendar Q2. So by April, May, we'd have an estimation on what, partial year looks like. So I think it's a great thing.
I do too. Are we ready to take a vote? Sure. Put it on town meeting?
Yep.
Shahidu?
Shahidul Manan, yes. Actually,
Amy?
we do have a motion.
We have a wording to read.
Yeah, I move to submit an article into the November 18th special town meeting warrant to accept General Laws 64L, Section 2A, to impose a local meals excise tax.
Second. Shahidul Manan, yes.
Amy?
Amy Rodebush, yes.
Joe Clark, yes.
Mary Jo Lafreniere, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chamber.
Okay, and now we will go back to Elaine and her town manager report.
Okay, thank you. One of the items that I attached to the town manager report was a list of grants that are subject to the MBTA community.
Oh, can I just ask a question? This goes back to the last article. I have a friend who is Economic Development Coordinator for the County of Norfolk. Do we have one for Middlesex that we could draw on for some help?
No,
Middlesex doesn't have
we don't
one.
have county government like Norfolk County does.
We're not part of county government. Okay.
I actually wanted to check another, Elaine, for economic development related one, because I've been kind of pushing this as an agenda for a couple of years now. If you can include me in the conversations and in the meetings, I'd appreciate that.
Okay. So one of the attachments to the town manager report was anticipated grants that we expect to be affected by non-adoption of the MBTA communities zoning. So I had staff take a look at the list and put in different grants that we've applied for in the past and received. So there is some representation there and some grants that the town may want to take advantage of in the future. So we'll continue to think of these potential efforts. And then any new grants we hear of that keep getting added. So there are grants that are getting added to this list.
Yeah.
So we don't know the full number, and we may never know. They just may decide to make that change in the future as we go.
I say thank you. I really appreciate that. And I hope the superintendent will add to it too, if there's any education-related items.
I think the big one for the town is the MassWorks grant, which we've been fortunate to receive a number of times.
And that would affect things like water infrastructure project.
Sure.
Okay. And do we know, the Milton had their day in court, but do we know when the decision is expected?
It could be months.
That's really unfortunate, because it would be helpful for all the cities and towns to know how that's going to go.
The MBTA Communities Act, it says grants effective. What do you mean by that exactly?
So if the town does not adopt the bylaw and comply with the state requirements, we will not be eligible for any of those grants
Starting January 1.
until the town complies. We're not eligible.
And the town meeting voted for us not to participate in this, right?
Correct. But it's on this special town meeting warrant.
Okay.
So theoretically, though, if it does not pass next month, we'll be back at town meeting in May, and like another article could be on for this again, correct? And then we could comply at that time. So you talked about MassWorks. I know that's the big one. You know, all the Main Street Corridor project stuff is already allocated, right? Like, there's nothing on calendar year 25 that we're expecting that we would use this grant for?
There's nothing that hasn't been spent at this point.
Okay. So as of right now, there's no impact if this was to get voted down?
I don't think it's retroactive. So like things that we've
That's
already,
what, yeah, that's what I'm trying to make sure.
Well, we're not sure.
Oh, we're not sure.
Possible that they can revoke a grant?
Yeah.
Now, I know Milton is the first town that is going to court on this.
Millis, is it?
Huh?
Which town is it?
Milton.
Milton. And how are they doing? Do we know? Has there any results? I mean, I've heard scuttlebutt, but
I think it's also, it's not like, in my opinion, it's not like an apples to apples comparison to Hopkinton. Milton is in their top tier
Right.
of it, you know, that rapid transit community, you know, we're the third tier adjacent community. So I think, as Amy pointed out, it's helpful for us from a decision-making standpoint, but we can't, you know, necessarily rely on.
we did talk about joining other towns in a suit, so that's why I was wondering how they were making out.
Although I don't know if from the legal obligation perspective that will make any difference, particularly. In other words, we'll get sued.
Yeah, I think
Very likely.
I agree with you. I think Mary Jo's point is we could share legal fees in the event of a lawsuit, right?
Right, yeah.
Right, but we're looking to get a permanent clean water solution from the MWRA, and if we vote it down starting January 1, we cannot apply for a MassWorks grant for that until we get into compliance. So, I mean, that's a risk. We've already delayed a little bit on the delayed 4 months on the water now, so.
We don't want any more legal challenges and lawsuits, but it's the town's decision.
I was just going to say, like this, I think the planning board has done a great job putting options together. The only thing I don't like is the fact that the same option that got voted down less than 6 months ago is back on special town meeting. I just think that goes against the point of open meeting structure of government, because it was a great plan, letter of the law, spirit of the law. Town voted it down. Like, let's see a new option. Let's make it clear to the residents why we're showing a new option, and we'll see what happens. It's not our decision.
Eventually, it's the towns and town members, they're the legislature, right? So it's their decision. I think our job, and planning board is trying to do that well, is to make sure we have all the information, all the analysis, all the impact, and good understanding, so everyone can make an educated decision. And also everyone, as much as possible, can participate in the discussion and in the decision-making showing up on the town board. Let's see.
good reason to attend town meeting.
Yes.
Do we have a date for the planning board public hearing on the maps? I've forgotten. I haven't.
There is a date, but I didn't bring that with me.
Okay. We should try to publicize that so people can come ask their questions about the three options then, before town meeting.
This is a state mandate, right?
Yes.
So the town voted it down, and that's absolutely, where we're at. But the planning board does kind of have an obligation to keep their eyes on a plan in case we lose.
Well, I guess it's out of the, what do you mean? Like, so we could try again in next year if it
To
fails.
kind of.
But it's going to be on us if we're losing.
Ball here.
We're in charge of the budget, and then if we're losing the grants, then we'll have to figure out what we're going to do about that.
Okay. And we did some liaison reports. Do we have any more?
Just have one final town manager report item.
Excuse me?
One final town manager report item.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I thought that was.
One more. Just announcing the release of some executive session minutes. So periodically, we're required to go through executive session minutes and identify any that can be released. So I'm announcing the release of minutes of November 19th, 2019, December 3rd, 2019, February 4th, 2020, and September 17th, 2024. And they'll be filed with the town clerk tomorrow. That's it.
Okay, I think I did find the planning board date here.
Can I have a motion to release those minutes to the town clerk?
Doesn't have to take a
No.
vote with the board, so the board's
can do
rules
a
of
voice vote.
procedure, staff reviews them, and then the chair reviews them, and then they can be released. And town council has already reviewed them as well.
And in the criteria, Ellen, just from my understanding, isn't it time-bound? Like, it has to age certain years, or?
No, it's whenever the purpose of the executive session no longer exists. The reason for that,
Like if we're negotiating a contract and the contract is done and signed.
something is done.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
so the planning board hearing on the, special hearing on the zoning is October 28th at 7 PM via Zoom.
What was that date?
October 28th at 7 PM on Zoom.
Okay. Anything else, Elaine? No? Okay. Any other liaison reports that we can get to? No. Okay. Any new future agenda items to add?
I don't think so.
We have quite a few, right, going?
Yes.
Given the tax excise one, Elaine, I spoke to the chambers as well. On the 12th, I'm going to their board meeting to talk about the Economic Development Forum and collect some feedback so we can move the discussions. I think the goal with that is I want to understand what they, I shared with them the structure and the information, and I shared it actually for quite a few times and back and forth. So hopefully we'll collect some more feedback from them. And in the meantime, we discussed in our last session, so we can schedule something after that to discuss further on that. Anything on tax relief, Mary-Jo?
No, the regular tax relief things are out there. The school tax relief will not be done until next year. They left us with quite a bit of criteria for the application, and I did talk to John Neese about it and Renee Chen, and we're going to be working up the program and the application. And it's going to be quite a long process, actually. And that's where we have all the other exemptions, the are in there, and I would like people to start getting ready to fill out those applications for exemption for veterans and elderly and blind and families of slain officers, police officers, fire department. We have a great number of exemptions. We have an exemption for people who are really kind of destitute or have no, who want to delay their taxes. We can delay them totally, and when they sell their home or become deceased or something like that happens, then the town can take the money and add an 8% increase. And let me see, there's just so many various applications for exemption that there's a book on it at the senior center with all the applications in it so that people can look at it, go through it, browse it, and you can get in touch with Renee Chen anytime in the assessor's office, and she would be glad to explain any one of the exemptions that you're interested in.
For the sake of time, I think we don't probably need to talk about all of these, but in general, do you want to keep it in the future agenda, or you want to cross it out, thinking we discussed
That tax
this?
relief, no, we're keeping that in the agenda. Sue Curies wants to come before us.
Yep.
And I'm hoping that she will do it the end of November, the beginning of December, when the tax bills for next year will be going out in January, and then they will start getting the applications for tax relief. And that's when I think they could use some publicity on it, because they can't raise funds.
She may be at the next meeting doing.
Oh, good.
What?
Maybe at the next meeting on November 12th.
Oh, she was going to come to the next meeting? Okay, that's early, but that's great.
Yeah. I was just thinking we have 9 backed up, so it is a good idea to start putting them in the future agenda. Of course, the chair will also decide.
Yeah.
Number 4, Joe, you have the Tim Brennan, and number 5 also is yours on unredacted documents. Do you want to keep them, schedule them,
Keep them both for now.
but not schedule them now?
Nothing scheduled yet.
Okay.
Well, we have discussed a few of
Yeah,
them.
no, I mean, we
And
discussed, like,
it's-
number 4, we've discussed, that was an executive session, so we're,
Right.
like, that's moving on, we're waiting to hear back from council.
And
Number 5, we do need to get back on, I think we asked,
In January, right?
yeah, is that when we tabled it too?
Oh, I mean, that's number 6.
council, and we're
Number 6 is.
Unredacted document related, no?
Yeah, no, I'm talking
figure out
about.
how to implement the information that we've learned so far.
Correct. So
Right?
so I think we agreed with like the process that he provided, plus we want to look at, can we
Software.
adopt a software? So it's, I
Yeah,
think
the
we keep that
software.
on for now, no immediate meeting need. And then to Amy's point, the last one was tabled till at least January,
Okay.
number 6.
Oh, number 6, right, okay. Number 7, that's Brian's. Number 8, Amy.
I think that number 7 is done. I have to say that the senior centers, and they have complained to the state and the legislature, and as far as I know, the answer was no to the certain, it's not all employees that are being denied, it's only certain jobs, and they're not part of the tax relief program. For some reason, we thought they were, or the senior center thought they were, and they were being given an exemption, but the state has said, no, they don't get one for what it is that they're doing, so.
Is there a workaround? There's other jobs they can do? Is there a workaround? There are other jobs they can do? The wood count?
Yes.
Yes, okay, sorry.
There are a lot of jobs that count
Okay.
for that
So
program, a
so
lot
we'll
of,
focus on that going
yeah.
forward.
Even at the senior center, waiting table counts.
Okay.
You know, it's just a certain few jobs that the state has said no to.
So that's also something to schedule, seems like, in future, right?
Can have an update.
Updating. The budget listening session, Amy, I think yours?
Yeah, we do need to figure that out because we're in the budget season now.
Yep.
Could that be something that you or Vasuta could do administratively? Send out a list of potential dates and we could see if people are available?
Yeah, we can try to look at some dates, times, places. Suggestions?
Yeah, that would be great.
And the last one is the report from Commission on Disability. Is that something I should reach out, Elaine, or you want to reach out and see when is it a good day for them to come over and give us an update and how we can support them, get kind of,
Well, I can ask since I'm on the
Oh, yeah.
committee if you want. I don't know if they would be ready for that or not, so I can ask, though.
Whenever. We've also reached out to the Affordable Housing
Oh, right,
Trust
yeah.
Fund Board, so we've reached out, and that's why it's not on the list anymore, so they'll come when they're ready.
okay, sounds good. All right. Making progress. That's all we have. Any other new items? Anyone? Quite a few.
And do we have any comments, or anybody know of any other activities that might be going on in town that we should announce? No. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.